crazy come-from-behind, season-defining victory for Maryland football welcomed USC to the new Big Ten. Men's soccer continues their dominance, while men's and women's basketball are back and ready to ball out. All that and more coming up on this edition of The Left Bench.
This is what college football is all about.
A lot to like in our first exhibition game.
Welcome back to The Left Bench, presented by Terrapin Sports Central. I'm Alex Gary, that's Ricky Podgorski, and Ricky, my jaw has been on the floor since Saturday. What did we see from Maryland football?
You know, it's the first matchup between these two schools in program history, and it was just an incredible game, but let's get right to it. Both teams in desperation mode coming into this one, looking to break two-game losing streaks. And if you love chaos, then this is the game for you. USC dominates the first half, taking a 14-point lead into the break. But as the second half starts, the madness begins. LaVane Scruggs intercepts Miller Moss, which sets up Ty Felton's sixth touchdown of the season. Then USC claps back. Edwards Jr. is picked off in the end zone by Jalen Smith, and Moss's third touchdown pass of the day puts the Trojans up by 2 scores. Maryland gets the deficit down to 6, but the defense has to make a stop. Enter Donnell Brown, who blocks the potential game-sealing field goal, giving Maryland a chance for the win. The Terps quickly march down the field, and Edwards Jr. keeps it, brings the boom, and puts Maryland up by 1 with 11 seconds left. Caleb Wheaton, he forces an incompletion on 4th down, giving Maryland the 29-28 win. And more chaos as fans storm the field at CQ Stadium. Here's head coach Mike Loxley on the crazy environment in Terpsville.
This is what college football is all about. I mean, to have USC, a traditional power, come to Terpsville and play here at home. You know, a lot of people always second-guess the decision of going, but this is, I mean, I love the fact that we have opportunities like this as a team, and I love for our fan base to get to see what it really feels like, looks like here at home, and what it can be like. And we're not there yet, but we are a good team.
Like Ricky just said, Maryland turned the game around in the final frame. Usually the opposite happens for the Terps, but Saturday's triumph showed that Maryland can win close contests. Matthew News has more on the comeback.
Maryland football has been desperate for a noteworthy victory. The Terps have had near chances in the past, but were always on the wrong side of it, until now.
Saturday's come-from-behind victory over USC was the notable win that Maryland was craving. It needed a fourth-quarter comeback to complete it.
The Terps are normally the team that can't close out close games. This time, Maryland won the final quarter. It started with a Trojans touchdown on a Deuce Robinson catch, making the Terps' deficit 14 points, its largest of the game. But Maryland answers. Billy Edwards Jr. drives his offense right down the field, and Roman Hemby did the rest to bring Maryland within a score. Edwards Jr. hit Caden Prather for a 2-point conversion, which would play a pivotal role later.
We're playing to win the game against a really good team, and I told my team that we were pushing the chips in the middle of the table and that we weren't going to earn it, we were going to go take it.
USC and Maryland trade possessions, and as the Terps trail by 6 with under 3 minutes to play, it seems another close game passes them by. But enter Donnell Brown. The linebacker breaks through the line and blocks a game-clinching field goal try by the Trojans.
Field goal block or even field goal itself is just about effort. So, trailing in the game, try to, get some momentum going, giving back to the offense at a very crucial moment of the game. And for me in practice, we work on all the time where, they might tell us to rush and always get skinny, because that's what field goal block's all about. Especially if you're on the front line, you just got to get skinny and then find your way in there.
Edwards Jr. has one last chance to be the hero, and he takes it. This 3-yard rush gives Maryland its first lead of the night with under a minute left. USC drives past midfield, but Caleb Wheaton makes this vital pass breakup. The ball hits the turf, and the Terps clinch their big-time victory.
This is what college football is all about. I mean, to have USC, a traditional power, come to Terpsville and play here at home. You know, a lot of people always second guess the decision of going, but this is, I mean, I love the fact that we have opportunities like this as a team, and I love for our fan base to get to see what it really feels like, looks like here at home, and what it can be like.
For Terrapin Sports Central, I'm Matthew News.
To help take some sense of the wild game we witnessed on Saturday, we're glad to be joined by the Washington Times Terp football beat writer and Maryland alum from George Gerbo. Thanks so much for joining us, George.
Appreciate it. Thank you guys for having me on.
All right. Well, let's waste no time here, George. After the Northwestern game, Maryland looked like they were trending in the wrong direction. I think that's a little bit of an understatement. But what was the difference between the Northwestern game and the USC game?
I'm still also not entirely sure what happened specifically after halftime on Saturday. It's a little bit of a blur. I keep going back to just this intangible poise type of thing. They came out in the second half as a poised football team because in looking at both of these games, they kind of had the same rhythm where Maryland struggled to put things together offensively early. The other team, while not necessarily lighting things up, took care of their business and handled drives and made their way down the field and scored. And, we essentially had a scoreless first quarter. Southern Cal scores on the final play of the quarter to get their first touchdown. But this Maryland team just came out with more poise in the second half. And it started for me on defense, where not only the Levan Scruggs interception, which feels like the biggest turning point in a Maryland game in a long time that I can remember, but your defensive front, your line there, those guys got upfield more often and not necessarily resulting in tangible numbers like sacks and so on, but to see those guys get pressure in the backfield and just disrupt what Southern Cal had going on, that seemed like the biggest difference because there were still some issues in the secondary and the passing game. These teams combined for nearly 850 yards of offense, which doesn't make any sense. Especially, with those kind of numbers, you're looking at a 48 to 47 type of game. Instead, it was 29 to 28. So there's still some things to work out there. But for Maryland, I think you've got to be happy with how they responded in the second half, and very specifically on defense, getting the pressure there to just stop Southern Cal's rhythm, which then opened the door and provided an opportunity on the offensive side to get things clicking.
Now, just sticking with the defensive unit, we kind of saw last week against Northwestern that defensive unit get decimated, specifically the secondary. What did you change specifically from the secondary unit on Saturday to produce some of those critical defensive stops like the one we saw at the end of the game?
Yeah, as Mike Bloxley likes to say, saplings turning into oaks. Levan Scruggs, one of those guys. He's moved the pieces around and, to me, less of a revolving door. In a lot of ways, we've seen so many guys and I think you're just too far gone in the season to keep, rotating guys in and out. So you stuck with, you move Jalen Husky around, you move different pieces back there, especially with Dante Trader out. And, Southern Cal picked on it a little bit, specifically along the sidelines with the cornerbacks, but USC's success wasn't over the middle of the field. It was against the sideline. And a lot of those receivers, to their credit, made some pretty incredible catches that, you're just not going to be able to defend as best you can. And probably the biggest thing for me is the penalties, though there were still overall a lot of them, 7 for Maryland in this game. They weren't defensive secondary penalties. You had some on the offensive line. You had a couple other, ones in there, but it was not, these big pass interference or these unnecessary roughness type of penalties from Maryland that we've seen. So specifically in the secondary, more disciplined as a unit, even though they gave up a lot of yardage on through the air. Bend but not break type of thing. And very specifically in the second half when they needed to kind of bolt down and hold USC, even though USC was up, multiple times in the season. Of course, they were up 14. Maryland cuts it to 7. They go up 14 again. And that's, can kind of be decimating, like, here we go. But every time Maryland needed a response in the secondary and to get USC off the field and get their offense back on the field, they did.
Absolutely. And before we talk a little bit about the path in Big Ten play moving forward, it was just announced that backup quarterback Tim Edge is headed to the portal. Tell me, George, what does this mean for this quarterback room? You got Billy Edwards Jr., MJ Morris, and then a big prospect in Washington coming up next year. So what's it mean with Edge heading to the portal?
Yeah, essentially six different guys in that room previous to this season and now going into next season. Billy and And MJ still have another year of eligibility. Obviously, Malik is the star, and everything kind of hinging, a lot of hopes in the future hinging on him, the Archbishop Spalding prospect. It's, Cam, big arm. He was recruited by, had offers from Oregon and LSU. I want to say even Penn State as well. So it's, you start, you hate it, but like in this day and age in college football with the portal, you start to see the writing on the wall. And if you think you have the talent and you think you can thrive somewhere else, then it is in your best interest to transfer. Mid-season's kind of, weird spot and weird timing to do it. I know with the new rules and the window opening and all that type of stuff, that's how it goes. But you can be with a program for 6-7 weeks into a season, and of course he played in Maryland's bowl game in the Music City Bowl in Nashville in the win over Auburn. But yeah, you just start to see the writing on the wall, and it's something we're probably going to see more often, especially at major programs like Big Ten conference programs, where guys are going to be like, hey, I'm third or fourth in the depth chart, and I think I've got the talent and ability to succeed somewhere else, or maybe at least get a role somewhere else if it's not even different packages for a quarterback that Maryland wasn't utilizing him in. Loxley's rotated in MJ Morris in some of those early season games. We're probably not likely to see that much the rest of the way. You never know with Locks because he loves the developmental aspect of the program and getting those guys experience. But for Cam, it was kind of, seeing the writing on the wall there, and he decided to make a move in his best interest. And that's our modern landscape right now in college football.
Yeah, definitely. But let's switch back to the team here. First win in Big Ten play under Maryland's belts. What's next for the team to keep winning in the conference?
I think they need to take a step running the ball. I know we didn't see much of that Saturday. You're looking at 2 back-to-back sub-60-yard rushing performances, 56 Saturday against USC, 59 the week before against Northwestern. SC, a bit of an anomaly because, as I put in my story, it felt like a Pac-12 after dark game, which I kind of like. I'm a bit of an air raid guy. I like seeing that type of offense. But in this league against Minnesota, against Iowa that's going to come to CQ Stadium, you have to get it done on the ground. They don't, in the last 2 games at Minneapolis, at Huntington Bank Stadium, they've lost by 42 points and 18 points. The game in 2021 wasn't necessarily that close. Terps got dominated on the line, and I hate to ding the team with this, but there is always, they do not perform well in bad weather. They went to Wisconsin a few years ago and struggled. They went to Minnesota and struggled. They just Northwestern last year up there. Able to win, but just they start slow in these bad weather environments, which essentially is the majority of the conference that's east of the Ohio or west of the Ohio River at this point. So you've got to, and to counteract that, you've got to be able to get it done on the ground, in my opinion. Now, I liked what I saw this weekend, which I asked Coach Loxley about after the game, and just this RPO game where, hey, we're going to use Roman Hemby, but we're going to use him as a running back just with touch passes. So that's a way to get around actually having to physically hand the ball off, and a way to take some of the pressure off your offensive line when you send those guys outside. But getting the playmakers involved, Hemby, Ty Felton, Caden Prather, who had a career high in receiving yards, like those have to be the guys that are the focus of this offense, and will help them win some of these type games that I believe they're going to be in. We saw Rutgers lose to UCLA this past weekend. And Rutgers has one of the top, in my opinion, top 5 running backs in America in Kyle Monangai. UCLA looked like the worst team in the Big Ten, and then they go and get a win on the road, nonetheless. So it's anything can happen in any given week in this conference. And Maryland, to keep that going, it's focused on the playmakers, and they do need some semblance, in my opinion, of a running game, especially on the road in the Big Ten.
Now, you said anything can happen on any given week. Back on some final thoughts against USC. Even though this was a win against a 3-3 team, do you think the Terps' victory warranted a field storm?
Man, the traditionalist in me says no, but I'm looking around the landscape of college football, and I watched Tennessee, who did it when they beat Alabama just a few seasons ago, and they beat Alabama Saturday, and they did it again and took down the goalposts. And we saw Vanderbilt, totally merited win, take down the goalpost, throw in the Cumberland River. So. And Donnell Brown had probably the best response in the post game in the interview, where he's just like, I'm looking around, everybody's storming the field. And he was just kind of like taken by surprise. Honestly, like and I'll say, obviously, it was student-led. Most of the people pouring out of the south end zone, which is awesome. And it just seemed cathartic, honestly. And if the program, I'm down with it if, like, just the students and the fan base needed this catharsis of, man, yeah, SC's 3-3, and it's a name brand in college football and always has been. They are not the SC of Vince Young and Reggie Bush and Matt Leinart and all those guys, but it's still Southern California. It's still Lincoln Riley. Still got a bunch of 5-star players on that roster. And yeah, there is something to beating a name like SC. They weren't ranked, but they were preseason ranked. It was one of the 4 opponents Maryland had in the preseason going into this season that were ranked and would have to face. And especially after the Northwestern week, just felt like the fan base kind of letting something out. And I'm down with it. And yeah, you don't need to take down the goalpost or nothing, but I'm down with it. Hey, let's go out there, let's jump around, have a good time. Yeah, is it, I'm kind of save it for a ranked win, which Maryland hasn't had in so long, or a win over Ohio State or Michigan, which Maryland hasn't had at home in so long. But yeah, it's I'm okay with it in terms of just the catharsis of how this program has struggled. And hey, we got it unexpected. And in the manner it happened is probably the biggest thing. You go out there and lead them wire to wire, doesn't make much sense. But in the manner of coming back twice from being down 2 touchdowns and doing it with 12 minutes left in the fourth quarter, I'm all right with it. I'll give them a pass on this one.
Alex and I was basically storming the field with the fans. We had our cameras running around the field at them. It was pretty cool to see, but that's all the questions we have for you today, George. Thank you so much for joining us and recapping an insane game in Slade and Big Ten football.
Anytime, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you.
And you can read all of George's coverage at WashingtonTimes.com and follow him on X at Gerbo3. From George Gerbo to George Mason. Maryland men's soccer extended its unbeaten streak to 11 last week after taking down the Patriots at Ludwig Field. Terps scored 2 goals, one of which came from Mr. Calm, cool and collected, Leon Cool. 6 NK, that's 6 straight. Maryland sat second in the Big Ten with the win, and now a bigger test with another Big Ten foe. That's right, Maryland men's soccer just wrapped up its match with UCLA at Ludwig Field. GSC's Ben Wolf was covering this one. Ben, what happened out there?
Yeah, guys, Maryland renewed its rivalry against UCLA, facing the Bruins for the first time as conference opponents. Both squads had multiple opportunities to pull ahead, but were unable to do so, leading to a 1-1 draw. Let's jump to the 20th minute, where Saddam Mazareka finds himself one-on-one with UCLA's keeper. Mazareka finds the back of the net to put the Terps up 1-0 and scores his 3rd goal in the last 4 games. With 3 minutes left in the half, the Terps star midfielder Leon Cool is carted off the field with what appears to be a lower leg injury. Second half now, and the Bruins' Tamir Radovitz takes advantage of a Maryland defensive miscue and finds the equalizer to even the match at 1 apiece. Both squads had multiple opportunities to take the lead, but were unable to do so, resulting in a 1-1 draw. And guys, Maryland hopes Cool's injury will not be long-term, but we shall see how the Terps respond on Friday against Michigan in Ann Arbor. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Ben. Well, stay right there because women's basketball is back. We'll break down their exhibition win and more.
Plus, we'll hear from men's basketball ahead of their season opener and recap field hockey, volleyball, and much more. Don't go anywhere.
I tell my son, I love you every single day. I love you. Now, my dad has never said that to me. Not because he doesn't love me, but because culturally it wasn't comfortable for him. Now that he's a grandfather, he says, I love you to my son every time he sees him. My advice to all the fathers out there, forget the cultural restrictions. They grow up way too fast for you to waste even a single precious moment.
I think I finally found.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, Mason.
Hey, Mason.
Got a new house. It's looking pretty cool so far. A place that I call home.
I'm teaching Louise how to cook some lasagna.
It only takes a spark to make a fire start.
Thank you.
Study, please.
I think I finally found a place to make my own. A place that I call home. place that I call home.
Welcome back to the Left Bench, presented by Terrapin Sports Central. I'm Alex Gary, that's Ricky Podgorski, and Ricky, we finally made it. It is finally basketball season.
That's right, Alex, and even though it was an exhibition match for Maryland women's basketball, they already look like they are in midseason form. Kicking off the 2024 season as the number 18th ranked team in the country, Maryland women's basketball got contributions from everywhere in its exhibition win Sunday over Seton Hill. This one starts Maryland's way and stays in the Terps' favor through all 4 quarters. This pair of threes from new Terp Sarah Tebiasu and top returner Cheyenne Sellers puts Maryland up 12 after 1. And then one lead just balloons. Maryland wins the second and third quarters by 18 points each as the new faces start taking over. All in all, 8 newcomers for Maryland combined to score 85 of the Terps' points, nearly 80% of Maryland's overall production. And in this one, no new transfer made a bigger impact than guard Kayleen Smichael. The Rutgers transfer finished the exhibition with a game-high 21 points on 9 of 14 shooting, leading the Terps to a 108-37 win over Seton Hill. Here's Brenda Fries after the dub.
A lot to like in our first exhibition game. For us, it's, was being able to, get every player on the floor today, look at a lot of different combinations, get those jitters out. I told him in the locker room, one of my favorite stats was that fourth quarter, 27-4, and just never played the score. We played to our standards.
You just got a little taste of the excitement head coach Brenda Fries has for her team this year. Fries is entering her 23rd season as head coach. But this one is completely different from the previous 2 seasons. The Terps brought in 7 new transfers along with 3 freshmen after the team lost the second most games under Fries last year. The team's chemistry and Big Ten expansion were common themes at Media Day. Take a listen to some of the best moments.
Extremely difficult when you have the amount of losses that we had last season because we're not used to that, nor do we ever want to be used to that. But I thought through that journey, just continuing, the biggest lessons that you learn is to keep putting your head down and being able to work.
It'll be a great show that y'all are going to get this year. Despite of how last year went, it's a new year. This is a new us.
Everyone honestly has been super open to just learning each other and, building bonds, which is half the battle. And I think the trip to Croatia, just, seeing people in different dimensions, not just in a basketball uniform, was really cool.
Athletic. Everyone can catch on to plays good, everyone's competitive, and everyone wants the same things.
They know that some things they did at your last year, you're not going to do here, or something that you didn't get to do at your last, you may get to do here. So I feel like that's the beauty of it all, is that life is what you make it, and you guys choose your own destiny here.
I've said this before, every game in conference play is going to feel like the NCAA tournament. But on the flip side of that, it's going to prepare you for the NCAA tournament and your seeding in postseason.
Maryland men's basketball also had its media day last week, and the Terps have a lot of high-power transfers, freshmen, and returning players who are set to bring a big impact.
Here's more from Kevin Willard with his outlook on the season and his thoughts on freshman phenom Derek Queen. Plus, we'll hear from the freshman himself, more from new transfer Rodney Rice and returner Jordan Geronimo.
This group has, from day one, been very focused on making sure that everything that we're doing is to make sure that we have as good a year as possible. So it's been a really good group to coach so far. They're energetic, a little bit older, which is nice. Also could be challenging at times, but overall a really good group that we're excited this year. Derek understands who he is and what the ability he has. I have no pressure because we're just going to run a little pick and roll with him and give him the basketball. He is as talented a big man as I've seen in a long, long time.
I just been putting the work in, so obviously things gonna happen. Just keep doing what I've been doing.
Team. I feel like I'm home, and I am home. I've known him. I've been coming to watch games since I was a little kid. Seeing Melo Trimble play and Cowan, so that's in here, and being here it just feels special.
I feel like last season we didn't reach our expectations, and this year's kind of like, a redemption year. So I'm excited to kind of go into this year and just win more games for fans and for Maryland for the program.
Another team with new expectations is Maryland women's soccer with Michael Marciano at the helm. But after a 5-0 shellacking from Wisconsin, it looks to be more of the same for the Terps. Didn't take long for the scoring to start as Wisconsin's Peyton Steffen hits a deflected ball into the back of the net. 10 minutes later, a back heel from Aaron Connolly makes it a 2-0 game. The second half, it's once again all Badgers, as Maya Richards, Ashley Martinez, and Jenna Bauman score, ending the match 5-0. Another Big Ten game with the Terps failing to add to the score sheet.
Women's soccer has one more match this season, but the most important storyline has been about coaching and team culture.
Brendan Weisel is in Studio B to tell us about the head coaching change that took place just about 2 weeks ago. Brendan?
Yeah, guys. On October 10th, Maryland parted ways with head coach Megan Ryan Nemser, and Michael Marciano was named the interim head coach. Marciano was named as an assistant coach after the 2023 season, but he is very familiar with the soccer world in College Park. Marciano won a national championship as a player on the men's team in 2005 and also in 2008 when he served as a team captain. After his playing days, Marciano stayed at Maryland as an assistant coach in 2009 and 2010. Then he bounced around as an assistant, first at Wisconsin-Milwaukee and then at Army West Point. Then he came back to the state, but this time at Loyola Maryland, where he served as an assistant coach for 6 seasons, from 2014 to 2019. Finally, in 2020, he landed a job as a head coach of the Drexel men's program. He left the Dragons in 2022 after 3 seasons there. Before coming back to College Park, he spent a season as the head coach of the boys soccer program at Loyola Blakefield. Marciano is the exact type of coach this Maryland program needs after a pattern of losing seasons, because he has a pattern of turning programs around. Almost everywhere Marciano has coached, as soon as he arrives, the teams start winning. At Loyola Maryland, he helped lead them from no conference wins in 2015 to second place in 2016, and then 3 consecutive conference titles. At Loyola Maryland, he also helped recruit the 13th best class in 2020, according to a College Soccer News ranking. As head coach at Drexel, he was the first coach since the 1980s to maintain a winning record. In his first seasons with the Dragons, they made a conference appearance for the first time in 7 seasons. And most recently, at Loyola Blakefield, he led the team to an undefeated season and a number 9 ranking in the country. Marciano was added to the Maryland coaching staff to be responsible for day-to-day operations, as well as training, scouting, and recruiting. Marciano served that role during the past offseason for the first 14 games this year. Former head coach Megan Ryan Nemser struggled in her time as head coach at Maryland, which included a streak of over 700 days where Maryland did not score a goal in Big Ten play. While her career at Maryland was not successful, it came as a surprise with her mid-season departure. The move came on October 10th, just hours before Maryland took on Penn State, a game they eventually lost 5-0. But Marciano has already begun turning this program in a positive direction, breaking the goal streak in a 2-0 win over Nebraska in Maryland's final home game of the season. Following the conclusion of the season next week, Maryland Athletics will conduct a national search for a new head coach. But Ricky and Alex, with a history of turning unsuccessful programs into winners, it's possible Marciano will get a full-time job, but we'll have to wait and see.
Exactly, Brendan. And if it is Marciano next season, you got to think that he's going to look for some guidance from his former coach, Sasho Sorovsky.
And we all know how great of a coach Sasho Sorovsky is, but one other Maryland coach that's pretty great is Missy Mahargan. Her team had some good success this past weekend.
Exactly. After breaking its winning streak to Ohio State on Friday night, Maryland field hockey hit the Plex on Sunday, seeking redemption. Michigan came into this one hot in an 11-game win streak, but both defensive halts offenses attack early on. Senior Alina Gerke gets things off for the Terps for the first penalty corner on the game in the second quarter. Kylie Niswanger connected with Hope Rose, awarding the Terps the first point of the game. Terps lead by 1 at the break. Halfway through the third quarter, Rose strikes again, deflected shot attempt on a penalty corner. Keeper Alyssa Kablasco dove and denied Michigan's shot attempt on a penalty corner in the final minutes of the fourth quarter, as the Terps get the 2-0 win and add another win against a ranked opponent.
It's huge. It's, you can stay on things too long, and I love the way they responded. We put a line through it. And Saturday in training, I guess that was yesterday, we were just to the point, and this is what we need to do differently. Obviously, our corner defense was much better, and our corner attack, we were to both goals off penalty corners, so all things are looking very positive.
On to Maryland volleyball, where Adam Hughes and company are in the midst of a 4-match winless streak, not even getting a set win in those matches. And a road test against Illinois added another game in the loss column. Maryland starts hot in the first set, leading 12-6. But the Illini claw back, tie it up, and win the last 3 points. Second set, and it's Illinois who goes nuclear, running to a 8-0 lead. Maryland went on a brief run, but the magic was short-lived. Illini take set 2. On to the third, this one a little more contested, but Illinois gets the win and sweep against the Terps. Despite the loss, Sydney Dowler moves up to 5th in Maryland history in career aces, and Sam Sire moves to 6th all-time in career kills.
Now, stay right here because after the break, we're going to learn a little more about some men's basketball players.
And of course, we'll have your top 5 plays, Terp of the Week, and Pro Terp, so stay right there.
I tell my son, I love you every single day. I love you. Now, my dad has never said that to me. Not because he doesn't love me, but because culturally it wasn't comfortable for him. Now that he's a grandfather, he says, I love you to my son every time he sees him. My advice to all the fathers out there, forget the cultural restrictions. They grow up way too fast for you to waste even a single precious moment.
I think I finally found.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, Mason.
Hey, Mason.
Got a new house. It's looking pretty cool so far.
A place that I call home.
I'm teaching Louise how to cook some lasagna.
It only takes a spark to make a fire start.
Thank you.
Study, please.
I think I finally found a place to make my own. A place that I call home. This place that I call home.
Welcome back to the Left Bench, presented by Terrapin Sports Central. Ricky Podgorski here with Alex Gary. And Alex, we touched on men's basketball's expectations on the court earlier in the show from their media day last week, but I want to hear a little bit more about their expectations and their likings off the court.
That's right, but it's really a good thing that TSC's own Ben Geffner was there, and he asked some Maryland players some quick questions to learn a little bit more about them off the court.
Maryland men's basketball is officially back, with Kevin Willard's squad fully reloaded for the 2024-25 season. But before the team steps onto the hardwood in early November, I had to ask some hard-hitting questions at Team Media Day.
Most used emojis, the laughing emoji.
The top three's gotta be laughing emoji.
That's number one for sure.
Laugh.
Probably all three of the laughing emojis: the crying laughing, the regular laughing, and the other laughing one.
All right, we got the laughing one, the crying laughing one, the burger, and then I gotta put skull up there too.
Straight face.
The fire emoji, and the praying hand.
I think mine the praying hand too.
Ooh, top 3 sports movies.
Love a basketball up there?
Nah. Coach Carter's up there for sure.
I like Blind Side.
Oh, Miracle on Ice.
That was a good movie. Sandlot. I love Sandlot.
Sandlot.
That's a great sports movie.
Loving basketball. Sports movie, I guess. You know.
I'm going Loving Basketball. A white man can't jump. And the butter rim.
I like Thunderstruck, because Katie my favorite player. And Remember the Titans, probably.
Let's say 42. 42.
I like that one. What's that one we just watched?
Hardball.
I like Hardball.
Cheeto Puffs. We're gonna go with the chips. So chips. We're gonna get some salt and vinegar chips. Lay's.
Probably some gummy bears. Skittles, and I say some barbecue chips.
So you gotta get the berry Jolly Rancher gummies. Yeah.
Sour Patch Kids and Nature Bars. I like going to 7-Eleven and getting like the mango chunks. The mango chunks. I like to get those. So that's gonna be on the trip. And for a beverage, you gotta have a beverage. I'd say. I like drinking the vitamin water. The vitamin water, the tropical citrus.
Strawberry Sour Patch, not the watermelon strawberry. And I'd go wild berry Skittles.
Fruit snacks.
Fruit snacks, Rice Krispies.
I love the chips that we get.
Popcorners. The
popcorners are good also.
Popcorners are fire.
Alex, my biggest takeaway there were some of the snacks that the guys bring on with them with road trips.
Of course.
I think George Geronimo with the vitamin water, I would change the flavor, passion fruit, or dragon fruit, I think it is, the red one. But Purple Lifesaver gummies, I'm telling you, those are the best snacks for road trips. What about you? What's yours?
Honestly, nothing just beats like a good cookie, whether it's like an Entenmann cookie. I think those are just some of the best ones. And those just really bring the boom. And speaking of someone who brought the boom, our Terp of the Week had to go to the man that brought the boom against USC, leading the Terps to a thrilling come-from-behind win. Of course, it just had to be Billy Edwards Jr. In the second half, Edwards stepped up to the task to bring Maryland back from down 14. 373 yards in the air, 2 TDs, and the game-winning rushing touchdown. Stack that with a killer celebration to put the Terps on top, definitely earned Billy the Kid his second Terp of the Week award this season.
And this week's Pro Terp goes to a basketball stud who has bounced around the NBA, but this week he secured his spot, and it's Bruno Fernando. NBA teams across the association made their final roster selections and cuts before the season tips off, and Bruno Fernando secured a spot with the Toronto Raptors. Fernando has averaged 6.3 points per game, 4 rebounds, and an assist over his 6-year NBA career. Congrats to Bruno on being named our Pro Terp. All right, Alex, it's top 5 place time. Break it down for us. Start us off with number 5.
Of course, and at number 5, we have LaVane Scruggs' interception. Now, this play was the catalyst for the turnaround for Maryland. Look at him go, right place, right time, and he gets it right in the perfect place. This was really an amazing play.
On to number 4, and it's Anastasia Russ with the spike over the net. We'll zoom it in there, right over, spikes it down, aggressive spike there.
And at number 3, Octavian Smith in the back corner catch. What a catch. At first, I thought this was a drop, but I saw it again, I was like, he held on to that.
Speaking of football, this looked like a football pass over at women's basketball. Sarah Tebiasu, full court pass for the layup right here. What a finish, what a pass across the court there.
And for number 1, was there any ever question what we were going to have? Donnell Brown blocking the field goal. I said before the Scruggs interception was a catalyst for this. This was the play that turned the game around and let Maryland the door open. What a good way to get that hand on the ball, and what a play by Donnell Brown.
Also want to say, what a call from Eric Collins on Fox Sports 1 there. What electric atmosphere for College Park, but it was really met with the Eric Collins call there.
Electricity in Terpsville this weekend, as much as we can say it.
And that will do it for another jam-packed edition of The Left Bench, brought to you by Terrapin Sports Central. Alex Wooten and Matthew Noose will hold down the desk next week.
And you can keep up with all of our coverage on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and X.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.